yes, you always will be judged if you take actions, but if you don't do it, you will be ignored. What is more important to you? You don't dare to do it, and then you're complaining at home to your spouse that your that your boss is such a jerk. Right? Always look at what you can do. What you can do to change the situation you are in. Because if you don't do anything and he's going to cheat again, you are to blame because you did not draw a line. It's about your habits, your beliefs, the way you look at life, and you have to change all of that to have to get really different results.
Hello everybody, welcome to SWOW series, the strongest women of the world, a global talk show where we celebrate strength and achievement of women from all over the world. Women are achieving extraordinary feats at this moment in everything that they choose from. It is time to bring such inspirational stories out in the world so that many more women and girls will choose to find their strength and achieve whatever they wish. Simply put, this show is bringing the best women in the world to inspire the rest of the women in the world. Bear in mind, this entire show is non-scripted, simply heart to heart. And today's guest is a super inspiring individual, an entrepreneur from Netherlands. She experienced one of the toughest journey from being a teen mom with no money to becoming a real world businesswoman. Most of the women get depressed with that social pressure in that circumstances, but she found her son as a motivation to succeed. She is a no-nonsense business mentor who empowers knowledge entrepreneurs like coaches, trainers, and teachers. She is also a motivational speaker who started an ambitious project to equip teen moms to achieve their dreams, not to struggle like what she went through. She strongly believes that self-development is the best way of developing and growing your business. She's also featured in various media platforms like The Telegraph, Entrepreneur, Viva and Flair. Help me to welcome Anouk Jose Drayer. Hi Anouk, how are you doing?
Hi, well, welcome, and thank you so much for inviting me. It was really an honor to be on this show. And the way you introduced me, it almost made me cry, to hear my story in such a short time, in a couple of sentences, it really touched me. So to start with this, I was actually a little bit nervous for today because I don't practice my English daily. So I was quite nervous, but I'm still here. So that's one of the things I always teach. It doesn't matter if you're nervous. It doesn't matter if you're afraid of doing something. Doing it anyway, that's the thing that's most brave. So I actually practiced what I speak today.
First of all, I want to say a big thank you. Like you said, right? Your story, when I was reading your story, it was really like I was having goosebumps because so many experiences are kept in that short frame of your life. So that is my really first question to you, Anouk. I mean, it is very common for many women at that time to really get into the depression because it's a pressure situation, right? Being a teen mom. What kind of thinking has helped you to move from that victim mindset to become, really victorious?
Wow, yeah, that's a great question. Actually, that was a process. To be honest, it was not like when I was 70, I was the most responsible, and I really lived this concept of taking responsibility. But I actually always was quite a responsible kid. I lived with my mom and my little sister. And my father was not around, and I always took a lot of responsibilities. I helped my mom in the house. I took a job. I was only 13 years old. So I always had that quite a strong sense of responsibility. So that was something I had naturally. But at that time, there was just something growing in me, there was actually really something growing in me because I was pregnant of my son, and with me being pregnant, I also the feeling of that I wanted to be successful in life and that failure was not an option. That feeling just grew in me, and I was like, he was my inspiration and my motivation to keep on going. So I think I made a decision at that point. I can be the victim and sitting at home and have any money for a long, long time, or I can take responsibility, go back to school, finish my my education, and build a life for myself. And it wasn't just like that, like from one day to the other that I accomplished everything, but I think that mentality helped me to go a long way.
Yeah, I mean, see, you just put the whole experience like, a very simple thing. It is so common that, people blame others. It could be, parents. It could be, even the kid. It could be, in that process, they go into that, rabbit hole, because once you start thinking negative, it keeps going down. At that age, what made you think, all these situations are an inspiration instead of really thinking, man, why me?
It's easy to blame somebody else, but if you want to be successful, you have to stop blaming others. You have to stop complaining about things, because that just don't help you. And it sounds easy, but it's not simple. Because if you did it for such a long time, then it's difficult to get rid of that habit. So that is true, but you have to teach yourself every day to think about it differently, to do things differently. And of course, naturally, I was not alone getting pregnant, so I could not just blame somebody else. I was there in that situation, and my boyfriend was also there. We took the responsibility together, and of course, I in the process from when I became a teen mom, my son is now 15, I had to experience a lot of things. Like I take much more responsibility now than I did then. And sometimes I blamed my mom for not being there. I blamed my father for not being there. But I also found out that it doesn't help me it doesn't help me for the future. It doesn't help me to get any better. So I think that I realized that quite young, and that's what helped me to not stay in a victim role.
Let me ask you, right now, what kind of suggestion you would give it? Because I know that you're really doing a very, very ambitious project to help teen moms. So what kind of suggestion you have if somebody is becoming a teen mom at this moment? How do you think they should deal with the life?
Wow, yeah, that's a very good question. I think everybody's dealing with it in their own way, but people usually don't have problem making goals. But to me, how I look at it, those are not really goals that they are setting. They are just dreams without any deadlines. So they're just wishing something, they're just wanting something, but they are not ready to take the actions that comes with the plan, to face the consequences the consequences that you have to face for bringing something to reality. Do you know what do you get what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So you want to be successful. You want to have a really good online program, and you want to sell that, but you're not. You don't want to take the responsibility or the actions that comes with it. So you don't want to be seen, because everybody's like, oh no, I'm scared and I don't want to have the camera on me or something like that. If you're not ready to do that, then you will never be successful. So you always have to think about the choices you have to make. Are you ready? Are you ready to face them? Are you up for that? So that's something you really need to ask yourself. I think that's one of the most important things they need to remember. If they have goals, make sure you have a plan to execute those goals, and make sure that it's something that's so worthful for you. That is, if you don't really feel the internal drive, and if it doesn't feel necessary to you, then you will never achieve those goals, because you don't want to do the things you have to do to get it.
It's a very common thing in most of the, most part of the world. Is very common to get into a relation at a much earlier stage, right? So what is your suggestion? Getting into a relation is different from becoming a mom, right? Becoming a mom brings in a lot of responsibility, like, a new life into your responsibilities. What is your suggestion, really? If you're really conscious enough, do you suggest, is it okay to becoming a teen mom?
I never promote it, to be very clear about that, because when we started this project, I did it with 3 other former teen moms, and they are also successful in the things they want to do. So we started this just to make sure that we realize about how we look at those young women who are facing something that's really tough, and they are also in their own process of being a girl to growing to a woman, and they in the same times have to raise a little baby, a child, and we look at those women like they don't have any chance in life anymore, like they are giving up, or they are not good enough, and that's something that's actually a horrible experience for those teen moms. So we want to let people see how that affects those girls, and how that affects the choices they make for the future. So that is what it's about. But I will never promote being a teen mom. Of course, naturally, it will be a little bit easier if you're a little bit older, if you finish your education, if you have a little bit more stability, like you have a house and a normal income. It will be easier, of course. So no, it's not a promotion, but you're still a woman. You still have dreams, you still have ambition, and you still can accomplish that even with a baby. So that's why we started this project. But no, I will not promote being a teen mom, because it's hard, not the fact that you're raising a baby, but that you have to be so responsible at that young age. And normally when you're 17, 18 years old, you're exploring, you're searching for the boundaries, and you're like a little bit doing all things you shouldn't do. And at that time, if you're raising a baby, you have to be so responsible for that, and that can be a tough situation.
How important is taking the responsibility from being a teen mom and applying in your business? How does that taking responsibility will help in your business?
That's a very good question, because I'm really passionate about taking responsibility. And that's the one thing people would never like to hear, because if you take responsibility, then it's also your responsibility if you're not successful. And we don't want to hear that, right? Because we would really love to blame somebody else, or we really love to say that it's not our fault, or we could not help the situation. And that's true. You cannot help the situation, and you cannot you cannot be blamed for everything. But it's not about the blame. It's about how you respond on the event, and that is what make the outcome. So taking responsibility, of course, is a very scary thing, because if you want to go from where you are to where you want to be, you have to take some risks. And we usually do not like to take those risks, because we are so comfortable with feeling comfortable that it's actually our biggest threat for growing in your business, particularly. I also always say, if you're too comfortable with being comfortable, you're not going to take the next step, and you're always going to place it outside yourself. And this is not only in business. People want to be healthier, people want to be thinner, people want to have different jobs, and you have the ability to do all those things. You can cook healthier, you can quit your job, you can be richer if you deal differently with your money. You have to become somebody else if you want to be the outcome differently. And that is what the most people don't want to face, because it takes something from you. You have to be different, you have to react different to a situation. And of course that's difficult sometimes. It's simple, like, okay, I put on my glass with my right hand. It's simple to do it with left, but it's not easy because I used to do it with right all the time. And that's what it's about. It's about your habits, your beliefs, the way you look at life, and you have to change all of that to have to get really different results. And if you look at your life and you're not happy with something, like how much money you make or how your friendships are going, then you should do something differently, and you have control about that. But it's of course not easy to tell your friends or your spouse or your boss that you don't like the way he's treating you, or that if he tells you you have to do this in this in the deadline, then you feel afraid maybe to say to him, like, well, you should tell me a week before because I'm not going to deal with this pressure. You don't dare to do it, and then you're complaining at home to your spouse that your boss is such a jerk, right? But yeah, your spouse cannot help it, and you can also not do anything about the situation by complaining, only by confronting him. But yeah, confronting is something we found that so scary, and that's what I meant with that comfort zone. We rather being comfortable and then complaining about it. Because people never complain about things, if you think about it, people never complain about things they have no control over.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we complain about the weather, right? We can complain about, okay, it's raining, but we know we can go to a different country where the sun is shining. So still we have a little bit of control about that we're in the situation that I live in Holland, where it's raining 99% of the time. So there's a little bit control in that, but they never complain about gravity or something like that, because it just is. Nobody can fix that or can do something about it. So we accept it, and that's the key. Accept the things that you have no control over and do something about the things you really have control about, even though it's hard and it's scary. Responsibility, I think, is the most important thing to be successful. And not so long ago, I was interviewed for a huge newspaper in the Netherlands, and I was quite harsh, maybe, like quite clear about taking responsibility is necessary. And I really saw that there are some people who understood that, and there were some people who hated that, because then they confronted with themselves, right? Then they get the confrontation that, shit, I'm not doing that. So I have myself to blame, and I don't want to blame myself. So that's why responsibility is such a strong and a powerful tool.
Yeah, I mean, I think I see this as, one of the cultural issue, because all over the world, it's a very common thing, because like you said, right, it is so easy to blame on somebody else, whether you blame Trump in US or Corona for the lack of opportunities, or you have so many things so easy to blame, because the moment you do it, you will feel really good. Okay, it's not my problem, right? So, I mean, yeah, if somebody watching this video wants to make the change, where is the starting point of taking that responsibility habit that they can start with?
It's even in those situations where you think you are really not to blame. Like if your husband or your wife or your husband is cheating on you, you are like, well, that was not my fault. I did not do that. He's to blame or she's to blame. And in a way you are right, because he actually did that. But did you confronted him with the fact, or did you demand from him that he goes with you in counseling together, so that to make the relationship great again? If you don't do either one of those things, then you are also to blame for the outcome of it, for the rest, for the future, because in that moment you have to make a decision. Do you forgive him and do you work on your relationship, or do you leave him? But either one of them is difficult. It's easier to just act like you didn't know, or you don't want to talk about it. You're not going to confront him with it again. So even the things you you now maybe really feel like I really cannot do anything about it, always look at what you can do to change the situation you are in. Because if you don't do anything and he's going to cheat again, you are to blame because you did not draw a line. Things will always happen and things will always occur. Like look at now at corona, the virus where we're dealing with. Nobody has control about that situation, but you have always control about how you are going to deal with it.
So what you're saying is create a habit confronting the situation in front of you instead of sitting in the comfort zone, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Because people will always, there will always be situations that there are people who are hurting you, or you will fail sometimes in your business or in personal things you want to achieve. You will feel ashamed sometimes, but there can be disasters like Corona. So that those things are always going to happen. You cannot banish them from life, and that's okay. It's also okay to not always being happy or being relaxed or being comfortable. That is not the right criterion. I don't know how you say it in English, but it's you should not measure your life with those values all the time, because we want to be like, if you look at Instagram, everything is so great, right? And if you see the entrepreneurs over there, they are like, oh, it's so good to be an entrepreneur. It's like great all the time, but it's not, and that's okay. It's so I also really would like to share that it's okay to not always being happy being an entrepreneur, because of course 90% of your time you should do something you're really passionate about and you really love to do, but there are always also some things you just don't like to do and you have to do because they're part of the job, or you have to do something that is not comfortable. It's okay. Don't think it always has to be easy, nice, great, or comfortable. That's not what life is about.
Yes, I totally agree. So this is the most important message for all your audience is take the responsibility, break that comfort zone, and make sure you're walking forward every single situation in your life has a bright side to it. It's up to you to really kind of look into it and start making steps toward. And Anouk, I want to say a big thank you for being part of the show. Any last advice for these young women to be successful in their life?
If you don't do it, you will be ignored, and it will be much easier, of course. It's up to you. So yes, you always will be judged if you take actions, but if you don't do it, you will be ignored. What is more important to you? And I always teach my coachees that if you make tough choices, your life will be easier. It's not always easy to do something, to do the things and to make those choices, but your life will be easier once you make the choices. So I think that is one of the most important things, and take responsibility for everything, even the things you have no control over and where you are not to blame.
Wow, this is the really the $1 million message, I would say, Anouk. So very simple. Make sure to take action, despite anybody's judgment, because you will be judged. And the second and most important thing, Anouk, that is take responsibility of everything that happens in your life. And Anouk, as I see it, thank you, big thank you so much for sharing all your experience. I'm only seeing that you are going to help so many more teen moms out there and inspire so many young generation women out there. So I can only say, if you people have not yet subscribed, make sure to click the like button and subscribe. To make sure also share this message with every single person out there where this message can impact. And I can only say I will see you with another amazing guest in the next week. But till then, me and Anouk says thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really like to talk to you. So I'm going to practice my English every day. So I will share my message more in English.
Your English is really perfect, because I know a lot of Dutch people, but you've been really talking very well. And I'm sure audience are going to be inspired by your story and take some action and take the responsibility.
Well, let this alone be the inspiring thing. Even though you're not exceptionally good in something, or you are really scared of doing it, like I was for this interview, do it anyway. You will become better in it. Just practice it, do it, even though you're feeling a little bit scared, and you will become better in it. So I'm going to practice a lot more, and you inspired me to do that. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for all the audience for tuning in. And I'll see you next week with another amazing strongest women of the world in this show. But till then, thank you so much, and bye bye.